is my 2004 BMW E46 M3, and it's coming on 6 years since I got the M3. The reality of owning this car, I know there's tons of videos on the E46 M3 online. It's not like this unicorn that you don't see. In fact, globally, I think the stats is somewhere around 85,000 of these were made worldwide, which isn't a very rare car. In comparison, the E92, E90X platform only sold like 67,000, 66,000, something like that worldwide, which is far less than these cars. When I bought the car, I wasn't anticipating that I buy it for it to grow up in value. I drove one many years ago in the UK and I fell in love. When this one came up to be able to buy, I immediately jumped at it. I didn't have the money at the time, liquidated everything I got, could borrow everything I had, and bought this. It was the cheapest one I could find. It's not got a clean title. It was just under 8,000 Canadian dollars at the time, which is stupid money today because clean versions of these in the coupes, red interior, 150,000 kilometers, which I think might be 120,000 miles. I'll put it on the screen. Could easily go for 25 to 30,000 for clean ones. This one isn't a clean one, but still a very good buy. Few things I haven't done since I've owned it. I haven't put the badge back on. I've left the badge on. Many years ago, it had a carbon hood. It wasn't the right carbon hood, so I replaced it with the OEM hood. I put back the grills underneath, fixed the fog lights. I've kept the OEM wheels, which I've gone back and forth on, going to some aftermarket wheels. I think I'll experiment with some aftermarkets this season because I've had some in the shed just sitting there. So I'll put them on for a few weeks, see how they do. Plus, I need new tires in front. And I've got the red stitching inside. This car has done quite a lot. For a year there, this was my only car. This was all I drove every day, everywhere. And I put a lot of miles on it. I think about 10 or 11,000 kilometers on this car in 1 year. And then I got another car. I'm into Civics. I always have like a Civic kicking around every now and then. The SIs most especially. These ones, this one specifically, the E46 M3, is a car that I didn't anticipate I'll keep this long. I thought I'll have it, like a year, 2 years, trade into something else. But I've fallen so in love with it, and maybe it's just me, but I've driven a few other cars since owning this car. I've driven the F80 M3, maybe the F82 M4, not the F80 M3. I've driven in a G80. I haven't driven a G80, but I've been in a G80. I've driven in Porsches, and these feel still very raw, very planted, very all around a good car to own, to drive, to daily, to kick around. And they're not all that bad in maintenance and reliability. I mean, I'll get to that in a second, but they're not all that bad. So owning this car for that price, for that money, not a bad deal. One of the issues I had in the beginning when I got this car was this air duct. I had to tape this down a bit more because I couldn't quite figure out why the car was always going into limp mode. We got the OEM airbox back in, fitted this back, and the car stopped going into limp mode. Also did spark plugs change, and it fixed the car. So the previous owner thought the car had an issue, which it did, but just converting everything back to OEM, everything was pretty much done. In the past year, I put a lip on. Lip's gone. Took a piece of the bumper with it. Put on this aftermarket Alcantara type steering wheel, which you can clearly tell is starting to show. After one season, it's lost all of its initial flair. It's starting to gray out a bit. And then I've got the red seats, baby car seat back here because I carry my son in the car a lot. I've got a leak in the car that I've not been able to figure out so far. There's a leak coming from somewhere. I thought, initially it was the valve cover gasket. There was a bolt missing. I put the bolt back in. That hasn't fixed the leak. I don't know. I'm going to try to change the valve cover gasket. I know the leak is coming from above, and see if that does anything. But the good, the bad, the ugly. Should you buy an E46 M3 in 2026? I'm just going to come out right now and say it because I've owned this for so long now. Yes, if you find one that you can afford, yes. But this has been my own ownership experience. and I'm going to break down some of the costs. I'm not going to tally them up. I'm just going to tell you what you should expect if you're buying this car. So let's do it. Let's get into it. First of all, it's the price of the car. If you get one for like $10,000-$15,000, buy it. Buy it immediately. Just know as you're buying it, it's going to have some issues. It's not going to be a clean car. Going to be probably high miles, maybe not had the big three done. It's going to have some issues. But if you're handy, you have patience, you have grit, and you have tools, there's nothing you can't figure out. You just need time and patience to figure things out, and you can try to figure it out. It might not take a day, it might take a couple weekends, but this car, once you have it moving, is absolutely phenomenal, and I'll get to that in a second. Non-negotiables is the cost of the car. So let's say you find one for about $15,000, you're going to need insurance. Now, most places in Canada, you're going to need to insure this car for roughly around $3,000 a year, which is what it was costing me until 2 years ago when I put this car on classic insurance status. If you have that, do that. You're limited to how many miles you can drive a year. If this is your only car, you're not going to want to do that because you can't rack up miles on a classic insurance. For me, $1,000 a year is what I paid until I moved over to classic car insurance 2 years ago, and it dropped to $250. Classic car insurance is great. It does bumper to bumper coverage, coverage only that is cheaper. The limit is the catch is you're limited to how much you drive the car a year. If this is your only car, that might not work for you. At the point, I drove this car a lot in the summer, and now that I'm getting, to a point where I can have like this car and a different car that I can drive and not put as many miles on this all summer, that works out for me. I think all of last year I did under 1,000 kilometers on this car, which is not going to happen this year because I've already put like 400 kilometers in a few days of just picking it up, and I have a trip coming up in 2 weeks, which this car is going on. So I'm definitely going to go over like 2,000 kilometers this year for sure. Just got a fresh oil change, which you probably will see in this video or the next video. But yeah, that covers it for the insurance. So if you buy it, say 15,000 plus your 3,000, you're already at 18 grand just for owning the car. Then we have gas. I average $60 every 2 weeks, again because of how I drive. If you drive it more, you're definitely going to burn through gas a lot quicker. If you're heavy-footed, a far lot quicker. This car revs all the way to 8,000 RPMs. So if you're doing spirited driving far often than not, you'll burn through gas a lot quicker. But I gotta say, I've driven a lot of cars, E55 AMGs, Mustangs. This is not that bad in gas. In fact, it is one of the better like spirited driving cars I've owned running on gas. It does roughly about the same with my Civic Si, which is atrocious to say, but it's not that bad. So if you do spirited driving, it's not gonna like burn through the bank. If you have like a heavy V8 or a different car, this is manageable. But I do 120 a month, $60 roughly every 2 weeks, and that's just basically now how I drive. Getting chased out from the area. Okay, we've been asked to relocate, and we're here by the highway. Once you bought the car, we're at 18,000. You need to consider a few other things like maintenance. No car runs forever without maintenance. Now, having an E46 M3, you're blessed with 4 major maintenance items that I'd say everyone has to do. 5 if you have the SMG, but 4 if you get Emmanuel. What we're thinking of are the subframe bushings, which are notorious and people talk about them a lot. I would say get them inspected as soon as you buy the car and watch them every couple years. But if you keep your car clean, dry, and don't do too many hard launches, you should be fine. But get them inspected, and once you inspect them, try to look at them every year, every couple years. I checked mine last year, it seemed fine. Number 2, rod bearings. The rod bearings thing is an E46 M3 thing everyone asks you to do with the S54 engines. They're notorious for blowing up. I've never actually seen one that's blown up. I know people who have them always do preventative maintenance. I haven't done mine, but I have a 2004. The 2004s, 5s, and 6s kind of had some of those issues taken care of. In fact, I've seen 2004 and 5 with well over 300,000 miles and never had rod bearings done. I'm not saying this is a sign not to do yours. I plan to do mine. In Ontario, they charge anywhere from 3,000 to 4,500 to get them done. That's including all of the bearings, all of the engine mounts, all that stuff. And then the subframe bushings, people charge somewhere like $2,800 to get them done as well, $2,600. There was a shop that once quoted me $3,500 if I wanted to get it done, and this was back in the day, so I'm not kept up to date with how much they're asking for now. Up the engine bay because numbers 3 and 4 are related around here, one being the vanos and the other one being the valve cover gasket. A lot of people say the vanos, if you don't change it, it's a ticking time bomb, it can grenade your engine, you should change it. The valve covers on these I found tend to leak. A few people that have these all have a valve cover issue or leak and they've had to fix it. I have a valve cover leak now, I'm pretty sure, so in the next few weeks I will be updating the covers, the valve covers, and all of the preventative maintenance I can do while in there. Those two things, if you were to charge it, take it to a shop. On the shop that quoted me for a valve cover fix with the valve cover and all the add-ons, quoted me for labor about $600. And the Vanos about $2,000, which the timing chain and all that. Also to note, I drove this car the other night to see a friend. He was like an hour and a half away from me. Spent a couple hours with the boys and came back. And I fell in love with the car again. There's always that one drive. It was the middle of the night. I think at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. I was coming back. Open highways, you know, just enjoying the cruise. I'm going to insert some videos, but it was just amazing. The car could deliver. And it wasn't even on track. So maybe if you guys, you know, like this kind of video, I'll put something on track this summer for you guys to see what the car is capable of. But that's it. Thanks for watching.